Yes.
Well, there's a lot of you know what it's like with websites.
I know it's a hassle. Oh
Every
my
bit
God.
of creativity you do, there's a lot of other donkey work that nobody sees
Going on in the background, yeah.
going on in the background, and
Absolutely.
so doing all of that, it's hard work. But
Yes.
I'm onto it.
Well, excellent. That sounds absolutely fascinating. So again, Signs in the Sky is the title, and
Yeah.
is this a 1 hour program or 2 hours?
It's a 1 hour program, and of course there's also the book Signs in the Sky, which has been republished by our friends, the ARE, the Edgar Casey people.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they republished it in America.
Are you involved with them otherwise in other cases, or?
I've given a number of lectures there, and they've been very keen to publish some of my books, so that's been really good.
Interesting. Okay.
They've also done my last book, which is over here. It's called The End of Time, but they call it 2012, Mine Year of Destiny.
That's a bit more punch in the title there, I guess.
More American, isn't it?
Well, exactly. There you go. That's good. Yeah. Wow. So really incredible stuff, and so Signs in the Sky, and this coming Thursday you mentioned. Definitely going to look out for that, and I'm very interested in getting a copy later on of the DVD. I definitely want to see it. Is it a more of a, what should we call it, a documentary style in that sense, or is it more of a lecture?
No, it's a documentary where I was basically taking this group of people. There are 18 of us all together, and we went to Egypt. We were going. See, I predicted that this would happen about the sun sitting on the pyramid, and I believe that this is very symbolic, and it was needed that someone should go and witness this, and not just let it happen and just ignore it. And the second half of that being in Jerusalem and recognizing the importance of this Orion amidst the 7 planets over the Mount of Olives, that someone should be there consciously recognizing it. I mean, it might sound a bit weird, but on behalf of the human race, not to let it just happen. Nobody's there. Nobody took any notice.
Do you think that Do you think that this could contribute to the fact that this particular place then is important, or can this be seen from any other location or at any other place in time?
Well, yes, you would see the rising of Orion in the east. And one of the interesting things about this is that the little star Mintaka, the top one of the belt, which, as I say, is positioned just about on the equator, just a few minutes of degree below, you will be able to see that virtually everywhere in the world, from the North Pole to the South Pole.
Yeah. Okay.
Because being on the equator, if you're too far south, you can't see the northern stars. If you're too far north, you can't see the southern stars. If you're on the equator, everyone sees it. So I see this as being kind of like a cosmic symbol of timing for us. Look for when that star rises in the east and sets in the west. Yeah, because that's the time. Now, I was half expecting to see Jesus skipping down the Mount of Olives. It didn't happen.
It didn't.
It would have been nice. Would have been nice, sort of this being sort of emerges out of a cloud, holes in his hands, and so I'm back.
Oh my God! It didn't. No. Because it's a symbolic story, right? In that sense.
It's a symbolic story.
Yeah.
But maybe something is going to. I mean, maybe I don't know exactly how to interpret this, whether we are supposed to expect him as a person to say, right, I'm back and I'm going to sort it, or whether we're talking about the birth of a new consciousness, a Christ consciousness that's going to come upon us all. There's different ways you can look at this, but I kind of see the 2012 event, which we're all talking about now, of course, with the Mayan prophecy and so on, as the kind of the other side of the coin. So it's like the opening of the southern Stargate. So we've opened the northern one. We've yet to open the southern one, which will happen in 2012. So maybe something really big is going to happen then. I don't know. Maybe I'm going to look stupid with egg on my face. But I think we ought to be prepared that something might well happen. And we should be open to this possibility and not be skeptical and say, well, this is just nonsense. This is just, just a cosmic movement of planets and sun, and it doesn't matter, it doesn't mean anything, nothing means anything. If we take that attitude, then we're going to be in the wrong space, in my opinion. We need to start thinking that life matters, humans matter, the world matters, the universe matters. Yeah, something made it, something very clever made it, and it behoves us. It's be sensible for us to try to understand what that clever The problem we have with God is that we tend to think of him as being like Santa Claus, this old man with a white beard, reaching out a finger to touch the finger of Adam, in the Sistine Chapel.
Yeah.
We have too much of an anthropomorphic vision. We need to start seeing that there's this creative power in the universe, and the creative power in the solar system, creative power in the world and in ourselves, all on different scales. And how can we align ourselves with that, and to attaining the possibilities which it requires and wants? How can we find our role in this?
Adrian, in the best case, so to speak, that you could imagine, what would you wish for taking place at this particular time?
Right. Well, I do believe there's going to be a kind of waking up. I mean, this is what is prophesied as the angels blow their trumpets, and the dead come out of their graves. Well, I don't see it quite as physical as that. I remember arguing with my father about this. He was sort of very devout Roman Catholic, and he believed, the resurrection of the dead. And I said, well, what about those molecules that are going to make up, this dead body? They might have belonged to someone else in the previous century, Who's going to have them? I don't see it that way. The way that you're resurrected is like the chicken eating the egg. In other words, you're reborn. Reincarnation. There's more people alive today than have ever been. There's more people in the body now than have ever been, if you like. If you believe in reincarnation, and I do, it's the only sensible way, it's the only just way I can deal with the idea of the inequalities we see in the world, is to say that we're born into different situations for different experiences, and that we have different lives to experience different things. That makes sense to me. But if the angel blows his trumpet and the people wake up, something switches on in their head. They remember who they are. We're all asleep. We're like zombies sleepwalking on this planet. We think we're awake. We think we're doing good stuff, but most of the time we're completely asleep.
Yep.
We're asleep to our higher possibilities. So if we woke up, we might sort of stand up and say, what the heck? What have I been doing? You'd be like a sleepwalker, and he wakes up and he suddenly discovers he's standing in the middle of a busy street. And he could easily be run over. And he's sort of, how the hell did I get here? I'm wearing my pajamas, and I'm standing in this busy street. Yeah. We might feel like that.
Well, in some sense, I recognize the image that you're describing, because I certainly don't claim that I'm fully awake in that sense. I know that there is always things that you can work on as an individual, and certain things that you need to refine on a personal level and all that stuff. But with that, having said that, I think that the initial kind of wake up process happened for me a couple of years back. And that was an experience like that in many cases. Like, what the heck have I been doing all this time, in a way, It's something else going on here. There's much more happening, and the awareness is totally different from one point until, or if you compared with previously. So do you think that will happen on a mass scale then? I guess.
I think it will. Yes, and I mean I've had a few sort of strange experiences, but one that I've talked about. Particularly happened to me it was about 1971, long time ago now. And I was a student at the time, and I'd been practicing yoga for about a year. And I was in a very tense, emotional state, because I was split with a girlfriend, and I was feeling very upset about it. And so there was a certain amount of emotional energy churning around. And I went to the seaside, which is not a few miles away from university, with a couple of friends. We drove out there, and it was dark. It was night time. I sat on the beach, and I was sort of meditating, passing sand through my hands, and I suddenly had this overwhelming experience of the oneness of everything. That the sand, the sea, my hands, me, the stars, my friends, the moon, everything was all one being. It was, you read about this, and when I say these words, it sounds very trite and artificial and stupid. But when you have this kind of different state of consciousness, realization, it jolts you, and it makes you think, my God, what else? The rest of my life is pointless. this was just so amazing that I'm one with, you read about in the Upanishads about the Atman and the Brahman. The spark in the individual is just part of the spark of the whole. And I was experiencing it, and I'd only been doing yoga for a year. You're not supposed to have that sort of experience for 40 years, I couldn't believe it. And then that started me on my path, really, of trying to understand what this was all about. So I can see what you're saying, that you've had something similar that jolted you.
Absolutely, and this comes in different waves and in different fields as well, really. Because again, I think that what you're describing here is the kind of the spiritual awareness of self-awakening, as it were, and that's, I think, it's the first step towards anything. And many people have that for various reasons. Some might be looking into the conspiracies of the world and have a similar type of awakening, and that, oh shit, they have another type of awareness to it. But what you're describing, I guess, is the more spiritual level to this, and absolutely fascinating.
Yeah. Well, on that occasion, and even more on a later occasion, I actually had what I would describe as a small sip from the Holy Grail. I feel like the guys go out searching for the Holy Grail, this cup of immortality that King Arthur had lost, or it had appeared, and then they have to go and find it. And I feel like one of those knights who's been searching, and he finds it, but he doesn't say the right words at the right time. He's supposed to say, who do you serve? He forgets to say that, so he has a little sip, and then it disappears again. I feel like that, I'm just hoping that maybe part of this thing will be getting back to that and having another good drink out of it.
Well, it's the carrot that keeps you going and helping other people to get to the same place, and with your discoveries, as it were, and your contribution to this field, I think you're encouraging other people to look into the similar areas. And again, everything from ancient history, the mysteries of the ancient world, are all subjects, I feel, that helped to bring people into another mindset, if you will, almost that opens them up in another way. It's like something incredible has been going on here in the past. Is it still happening? In that sense, are we part of it all who are here? And I think it's wonderful that you're doing it. Again, because it's ultimately about enriching, in that sense, other people's experiences here as well, and laying the puzzle of world history and try to figure out what has been going on and what is happening currently.
Well, I would put another word to it as well, and that word is duty. It's not a word we hear very much these days, but people helped me in the past, people who've now passed on, and they've given me good advice, and they've showed me things and helped me. And now I feel it's the turn of people in my generation. I should be 60 this year, and we have to work to pass on the torch to the next generation, if you understand that.
Yeah.
People my age, because we've been given things, we've been shown things. It becomes our duty to help others the way we've been helped. So that's another reason why I've set up this website. And it's really part of this whole process of passing on to the next generation. Because there's another side to that as well, and that is that in order to move forwards yourself, and Gurdjieff wrote about this, in order to move up to the next step, you've got to put someone else in the step that you were on previously.
Yeah.
That's part of the teachings of the way. I suppose a bit like climbing a mountain, isn't it? You want to go up the mountain, you're roped together with all these people. And so the whole team has to move up. Otherwise, nobody can move. So I want to get to the position where I can move on to the next stage. But I can't do that just on my own. I've got to help other people. And that's my duty.
It's a very interesting point.
And then it becomes the duty of other people to help those who are behind them.
Yeah. And it might be then, again, you were talking about taking a sip, as it were, from using the analogy of the Holy Grail, but so maybe what you're describing or talking about is in